the bastard came to this country from Normandy in 1066, he brought with him some of his mates. One of those was Geoffrey from Mowbray. Now, as a reward for success in battle, William gave to his supporters lands scattered around the country. Now, this was fine, except that a couple of generations down the line, young Roger de Mowbray was trying to assert his importance and status. He would go round to all his castles and his manors and his lands, but nobody knew who he was. Who was this young interloper? Gave him a bit of an identity crisis. So he thought he'd go off and do what a young man really enjoyed doing, which was fighting in battle. So he did, except that in battle everyone wore grey armour and had grey helmets covering their faces so nobody could see who anybody was. He scratched his head. This was really quite a big problem. But then he was saved by the Pope, who decreed that it was a really good thing to go on crusade to the Holy Land. And Roger thought that, well, at least in the Holy Land, the Saracens, the enemy, would look different. He knew who he was meant to be killing. He met up with some nobles from northern France. He had a shiny horse. He'd been well groomed. He got shiny armour, been well polished. He set off with his head held high, going off on his way to the Holy Land. Well, the further east they got, the hotter it got. The more the food was less to his liking, and the water was becoming a bit scarce. When they got near the Holy Land, they settled on the decision to lay siege to the city of Damascus. Now, Damascus was on a hill, and it was a walled city, had big walls all the way round. And I'm sorry to say that the siege lasted only 5 days, failed through lack of water, and all the besiegers turned tail and came home. Roger was despondent, hungry, tired, thirsty and hot. He sat down in the shade of a rock to rest. And after a while he started to hear some strange noises, some hissing and roaring. And they were getting louder and louder. And the roaring was getting louder and more urgent, and the hissing was getting more fierce. Roger peeped round the corner of his rock to see what was going on, because these weren't the normal sounds of battle that he was used to. And there, coming towards him, backwards, was a silvery white lion, roaring at this great green dragon, stretching out his neck, coming in for the kill. Roger leapt to his feet, drew his sword, sliced through the dragon's neck. The head rolled off to one side, and the body, in its death throes, spurted blood all over the ground, surrounding the lion in red blood. The lion looked up at Roger as if to say, "Thanks, mate, you saved my life." Roger looked down at the lion, and there he saw, with the lion in the red background, silvery white lion, on a red background, he saw what he could use as his coat of arms. He could have it on his surcoat, on his banners, on his tabards, on his churches, on his cathedrals, on his manors. He could have his own coat of arms that everybody would know that he was the great Roger de Mowbray. And that's precisely what he did. And you're going to ask me about the lion. What happened to the lion? Well, it's said that the lion followed Roger back to his lands in Yorkshire, where he lived a good few more years and died of old age.